Hey guys, just waiting for the stream to come up. Bear with me a sec. There we go. And we are live. How's everyone doing? It's good, it's good, good. Yep, we're good. Okay. Hope everyone's doing good. It's a quiet day. Sunday, not much to do when you got a 2-year-old. So I'm going to take on your questions. So, you guys have any questions in regards to TRT or anything related to TRT, feel free to throw it in the chat that you can see to the right of the video, and I'll do my best to answer them. I got some questions coming already. Cool dude, howdy. Howdy. Jim Krejci, hey Danny, I'm currently on 30 milligrams sub-Q twice weekly. Okay, so Jim, you're the 30 milligrams, you're saying 30 times 2 for a total of 60? And my levels are good at 600 mg. I think you mean N, like Nancy, in nanograms per deciliter, NG. And I feel good. Is that super odd with a dose that low? Okay, well, first of all, you're saying your levels are good. So I like breaking people's balls because I like making them think, right? So when people tell me that the levels are good, I say, good for who? Good for you, good for me, good for your neighbor, good for Will Smith. 600 nanograms per deciliter on TRT is actually quite low. Okay, so the range currently, if you want to give that range any type of value, goes from about 300 to about 900, depending on the range. Some finishes at 800, some finishes a little over 1,000. Back when I started TRT, it used to go up to about 1,200, but it keeps going down because they keep taking a sample of the population and seeing where the levels are, and then drawing a conclusion based on that. And we know that with every passing year, people are getting more and more sick because they're eating more and more crap, and they're not exercising, and they're being bombarded with all this chemicals and products and preservatives, and it's wrecking their endocrine systems, and they're producing less and less and less testosterone, in particular, less and less sperm. Sperm count of men has gone down a lot. So this range keeps going down. Okay, so you're at 300 to, let's say, 900, and you're at 600, so you're right in the middle. So congratulations, you're in the average of the population. So you've got the same shitty levels everyone else has. It's not even my words, that's what Neil Ruzia would say. Now, if you feel good at that level, I mean, that's really the whole point, right? Is to find an amount that you would take to make you feel good, really regardless of levels. If you tell me I'm on TRT and I feel fantastic, I don't really care what your levels are. The level is meaningless, because who am I to say, oh, your level is too low? You should bring it up because, you know, these guys feel better here, you know, or you should bring your levels down. If you feel good, that's kind of the whole point. But 600 nanograms per deciliter, I think, is kind of rare to see someone who says, I feel good at a level like that. I know guys that start TRT levels of 600 to bring their levels up, you know, well over 1,000. But if you feel good, it's fine. So is it super odd? Look, you're telling me you feel good. I don't know what you know. The word "good" is subjective, right? Your good might not be my good, and might not be his guy. This guy's good, right? So, have you ever tried more? And if you tried more, has it been, you know, are you going to say, oh my God, okay, now it really feels the way I would have expected, or are you getting that feeling now? So don't put too much weight on the dose, because the dose is irrelevant. You're taking 30 milligrams twice a week for a total of 60 milligrams a week. I mean, that's like, in the grand scheme of things, that's ridiculously low dose. That's like a really, like if I was to take a dose like that, I don't know how long I'd be able to go on with my life before just like, because I need a lot more than that to feel better. Okay. Me, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need a lot more. So is it super odd? It's, I mean, I've seen it. You say feel good. You know, are you completely devoid of symptoms? You've got no issues going on. Your erections are good. Your libido's good. Everything else is good. Your cognition, your sleep. If that's the case, keep doing that. You know, that's pretty much how it works. Sean Chang, thanks for doing this, Danny. They made me, Sean. They made me. I had no choice. Help. No, just kidding. You're welcome. DC Heavenly Bodies, Cummings, good morning. D Bossa, good morning to you. Well, here it's 1 p.m. Eastern time, so technically it's early afternoon. I don't know what time zone you guys are in. It'd be cool actually if some of you guys actually posted where you're watching this from, because I always get the impression that most people are watching this from the US. I'm in Canada. I'm very close to Montreal. For anyone who doesn't know, Montreal, Quebec, I'm just on the south of the island. A small little town called Chambly is where I live. But I always get the impression that most people are from the US. But every now and then I see a lot of guys from Dubai and Australia and UK and Thailand and all kinds of places. It's really kind of cool just to sit here and there's people from all over the world like watching me of all people. It's kind of funny. Marcus Carl, hello back. Prince Lewell, hi Danny, I got my T checked. Total is 134. Free is 53.2. Prolactin was 46.2. Do you think I can work on both the prolactin and increasing my T at the same time? Or I have to sort out prolactin first. Okay, so at prolactin of 46, the range goes up to, I think it's about 13, more or less. 46 is pretty high. Now, does that demonstrate that you've got some kind of a prolactinoma, you know, some type of maybe a pituitary tumor or something that's creating this high prolactin? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe your body's just making more prolactin than usual. I have seen guys with high prolactin levels and they're like, my libido's through the roof, and you know, I'm you know, I got rock hard boners and whatever else. I've got zero prolactin related symptoms. I don't have any gyno. I have nothing going on. Then it's kind of a non-issue. But if you've got a lot of the issues associated with higher levels of prolactin, then you want to address it. Now, your total is definitely in the toilet, and that is most likely due to the fact that your prolactin is high, because as you raise prolactin, it's actually going to suppress testosterone. So I would strongly advise finding a competent either functional medicine practitioner or someone who's got experience with troubleshooting issues with prolactin like this, just to see, is there something about your physiology that's causing the prolactin to be as high as it is? Because if you can fix that, chances are your testosterone levels might come back up. Now, are they going to come back here? Are they going to come back here? They're going to come back here. That's anyone's guess, right? First thing would be to try the prolactin. Now, if you can't figure out why the prolactin is high, then you can always try getting on TRT, bringing testosterone levels up. And as you're bringing testosterone levels up, it should help to suppress or bring down those prolactin levels. I had seen one guy, he's actually in our Facebook group. He had prolactin levels in like the several hundreds. He had to get on a really, really hefty dose of testosterone. I think he got on like 300 milligrams a week for a few months. And that actually helped drive down his prolactin levels. His entire hormonal profile changed with time, and he started feeling a lot better. And then he was able to actually start backing off his dose. But he used the high dose testosterone to help mitigate the issues with the prolactin. There's a big super chat that just came through, $27.99. Holy cow. Army Log in Toronto, thanks for all you do, went from 12.2 to 50.7 total, and 75 to 276 E2 on 140 milligrams of test and 300 IU HCG divided EO day. Thoughts? Doc says levels high, mainly E2. Feel really good. Okay. Army Log, I want you to do a favor, considering we're right at the beginning of this live stream and I got some time. I want you to go look at the labs and tell me, is it specifically estradiol that they measured? Does it say estradiol sensitive assay, or is it total estrogens? Because there's a huge difference between measuring estradiol and total estrogens. 276, are you sure that it's 276 pg/ml, picograms per milliliter? Because that's odd for it to be that high. Go back and check your labs, because if it's total estrogens, you did the wrong test and your doc doesn't know what he's doing. If it's estradiol, again, I don't put a heck of a lot of weight on the measurement of estradiol because I keep explaining to you guys, it is an intricate hormone. So what an intricate hormone means, that, and I know for some of you guys are like rolling your eyes like, Jesus fucking Christ, this guy's gonna repeat it again, but I need to repeat this again, okay? When you are measuring your testosterone in your blood, you take a blood draw and then you put it through the lab and they check and they can see exactly how much is in there because testosterone circulates in your bloodstream, okay? That same testosterone gets delivered into your tissue, the target tissues, throughout your body, okay? And all of these areas are going to wind up converting a different amount of testosterone into estradiol. So every single part of your body is going to have a different amount. So think of it, the last video I did, I talked about using containers. Imagine I got one container for the heart and one container for the lungs and one container for the brain and all these containers are all different sizes. And each one has different amounts of estradiol. But imagine a closed container and you can't really see what's inside. Okay, for me to know how much estradiol is in your brain, for example, I'd have to kill you and do an autopsy. We'd have to basically dissect your brain, do a chemical analysis to figure out, okay, it had this much estradiol. There's no blood test that can tell me how much is in your brain, because all we are seeing is the little bit that leaks out of all these containers, leaks back into the serum, and then we're measuring that, okay? Gil in the Facebook group posted a video on his Facebook not all that long ago. He was walking down the street and he picked up a leaf, and then he looked up and looked at the tree, and there's a couple thousand leaves, and he says, I'm going to try to figure out how many leaves are in the tree, because using this leaf that I just found, the one leaf that fell off from the tree, I'm going to try to determine. You can't, okay? So don't put too much weight on the measurement of estradiol. However, if you've got a total of, okay, so 50.7, you're gonna have to forgive me a sec. I do I have the American units in my head. Let me just do a fast 50.7, 50.7 is 1461. Okay, so 1461 nanograms per deciliter is, I mean, you're well above the clinical range. There's not an issue with that. 1461, I know guys have got a lot higher than that. As long as you're not having any side effects, that's fine. But at 1461, I may have suspected that your estradiol would sit around, 80, 90, between let's say 70 and 90 would be, I would say, where I would expect to see it. Yours is at 276. So either you did the wrong test, which if I had to put some money on, I'd say that's what's going on. Or there's something going on with your physiology where, okay, either you did the wrong test, total estrogens, or this actually is the estradiol sensitive assay test, and there's something about your physiology that you are creating a lot of estradiol, way more so than we would expect, which could indicate some kind of underlying condition. If you've got an underlying condition going on, your body will create more estradiol because it helps to protect the body. So it's the body's way of mitigating some of these issues. Maybe you've got very, very poor liver function. So that liver is where the estrogens in general get metabolized. So if you got poor liver function, it's not metabolizing those estrogens, and you get this buildup and buildup and buildup. You do a serum test, you're like, holy crap, there's like all this freaking estrogen in there. So if you go back, take your labs. I'm going to keep scrolling up and down on the chat thingy and see if you can put a little bit more, give a little more info on that estrogen level. Okay, so I took a little bit of time on that one. But first of all, I did a nice super chat, $28. Thank you very much. There wasn't too many questions, but now there's a lot, so I have to get through them a little quicker. Okay, what do you think I can work on? Okay, we did that. Yes, 60. Okay, so Jim Krejci is 60. Yeah. So Jim, I more or less answered your question there. Stephen Latham, what are your thoughts on liquid L-Carnitine? I have not tried it personally. I know a couple of guys that have been using injectable L-Carnitine, and some of them are getting benefits. Some of them tried it for a while. I haven't really seen much. Again, it's going to be my opinion, one of those things you try, and if you get a really nice benefit out of it, take it. And if you're taking it and taking it and you're like, I could take it or leave it, doesn't make a difference, then don't bother. I have not tried it myself, so I can't comment on my own personal experience. MG, what do you think about testosterone undecanoate injected once a week? Okay, so the undecanoate is an extremely long ester. It's designed to be given a single injection that's supposed to last, many, many, many weeks. The issue with undecanoate is that because the half-life is so long, you're taking, let's say, let's just assume it's the first of the month. You take your shot the first of the month, and then it goes like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, and over the course, it's just dropping, right? So with every passing week, your levels are just constantly going down. Even, they're still going down gradually, but they are still going down, which means the rest of the supporting hormones are never finding any kind of homeostasis. They're not just keeping a fixed level. They are also changing constantly. And the issue that I find with undecanoate is that if you take, let's say you took one big injection, and then it turned out that you were hypersensitive to testosterone, and you got a lot of anxiety and panic and insomnia, and you can't sleep. Well, because the half-life of it is so long, that's going to be in your system for a really long time. Okay. It makes it much harder to dial in a dose with a really, really, really long ester, because every time you say, okay, I'm going to add a little bit more, it's going to be like months of these shots every now and then until you figure out, how much what your ideal weekly dose is, compared to something way more ideal like cypionate or enanthate. Now, undecanoate injected once a week, you can do it. I'd probably recommend that, let's say, to somebody more along the lines that they've already done all the experimenting. They've already kind of determined what their ideally weekly dose is. Let's say, for example, it's 150 milligrams a week. They're like, I've been on cypionate or enanthate, and I've tried this and I've tried this, and I feel my best at 150 milligrams a week. So instead of using that, I'll just take one shot of undecanoate 150 milligrams a week and have even more stable levels. Like, yeah, you can do that. But if you're just starting out on TRT, it's really hard to get dialed in with undecanoate and try to figure out what your ideally weekly dose is, because a shot just lasts like so long. So not really my ideal choice. If you're going to use injections, cypionate or enanthate, really hard to beat. After that, I would say Sustanon, and even then, lots of guys having issues with Sustanon. Some guys do well with it, but try to get it enanthate or cypionate if you can. But again, if you're taking the undecanoate and when you're doing it once a week and you feel great, do that. Do that. If you feel great, don't change anything. Jeremy Moran, I hear you. I'm currently taking 84 milligrams a week. Want to increase it to 100. Okay, so now Jeremy Moran, why do you want to increase it to 100? Is it because 84 milligrams a week sounds like, like a not manly enough dose? It's not macho enough. Like, my friend takes 200 milligrams a week. That guy's a real man. I'm only taking 84. I hope one day to get to 100. Like, who gives a shit about the dose? Right? Look at the other guy. It's taking 60 milligrams a week. He feels fine, right? Don't put too much emphasis on dose. Don't put too much emphasis on the labs. Figure out how much I should take a week, how often to inject a week. That's it. That's the simplest way to go about it. So don't target a number. You're like, at 84, I want to increase it to 100. You're targeting a number. I want to eventually get to 100. Why? To what? So you have a nice round number. So I take 100 milligrams a week. I like this number than the 84. This is like so inferior. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm not breaking balls, Jeremy. I'm just making a point. Don't target a number. Don't say I need to be here. You might get there and you're going to feel like dog shit. So then you're like, well, why did I want to get here? Because now I feel worse than I did before, right? You can say, I feel like I should increase my dose because I'm still having some issues. I'm going to increase my dose. I'm going to see if it fixes it. Then maybe my next step is 100 based on where my levels are and the way I feel. I figure maybe if I got, a 20-25% increase in dose, I might be right about where I feel I need to be, right? But don't just say I want to target a number. Loris Tigers. Hello, Danny. How can it be that I haven't changed nothing in my protocol for months, but 2 days I feel amazing, then 2 days irritable, and all the time like that? I haven't changed nothing. I haven't changed anything in my protocol for months, but 2 days I feel amazing. Then okay, now, but when you're saying I haven't changed my protocol in months, have you always felt like this? 2 days I feel amazing, and 2 days I feel irritable, and it's back and forth and back and forth. Easy fix for that. You need to increase your injection frequency. Okay, so let's assume you're taking, I don't know, twice weekly injections. You're taking injections Monday and Thursday. So you take your shot on Monday, and then Tuesday you're kind of on, Wednesday kind of on, and then Thursday you take another dose. That would be a sign to increase frequency. If you're getting irritable, let's say you take your shot Monday and Thursday, and you take your shot Monday morning, and by Monday afternoon you're irritable, and Tuesday you're irritable, and Wednesday you actually start feeling a little bit better, and then Thursday you take your shot and you start feeling like shit again, guess what? Your body doesn't like that amount of testosterone being injected all at once. Okay, so let's just assume you're taking 100 milligrams a week, and so you're taking 2 shots of 50 milligrams a week. You take your shot of 50 on Monday, and then by the end, Monday afternoon you're feeling irritable. Tuesday you're feeling irritable. It means your body doesn't like 50 milligrams all at once. And we can demonstrate this because you got to keep in mind you're giving your shot on Monday, right? And then one day the levels are going to start to drop. I feel like shit. Tuesday the levels are going to feel like shit. Wednesday, oh, I start feeling better. Yeah, but now your levels have gone down, right? Your levels have dropped since you took your shot. And now you're starting to feel better. So guess what? You feel better when your levels are about here. And it doesn't feel too good when it's over there. So what you can do is instead of giving yourself 50 milligrams twice a week, you say, okay, well, let me split it up more. Let me do maybe, I'll take my weekly dose and divide it, by every other day shots, every other day, half the week. Again, I'm going to bring this up again because there's people argue math with me, and I don't know what calculators they use, but if you want to do every other day shots, it's every other day, every second day, right? So every second day, it's like I do it on Monday and I don't do it on Tuesday, right? That's every second day. It's half the time, half. Every other day, every second day, half the time, half. I'm doing it half the time. Week is 7 days. Divide a week by 7. Divide 7 by half. What do you get? You get 3.5, not 3. You get 3.5. So there's a difference between 3 shots a week and every other day. So if you're taking, 100 milligrams a week, and you want to do shots 3 times a week, you say I'm going to do shots Monday, Wednesday, Friday, divided by 3. If you're going to do every other day, say I want to do like, today's the 3rd of April. So I say, okay, I'm going to do odd numbers throughout the month of April every second day. You take your weekly dose, you divide by 3.5 to determine how often, how much to inject on that day. Now, if you do that and you're still feeling off, that might be a sign to actually go more and do daily shots. Take your weekly dose, divide by 7. This is going to occur a lot with low SHBG guys. Okay, so check your SHBG. If it's significantly below 20, there you go. You need to do more frequent shots. If you do that, chances are you're going to feel better. So you can increase your frequency until it gets to the point like, hey, I don't feel like shit for 2 days and good, and then feel like shit for 2 days. I feel the same. Great. Okay, well, now you can try slowly raising your dose over time, your weekly dose, until you find out how much I need to take a week where I feel good. And then eventually you can always try backing off on the frequency a touch if you need to. That's it. Hunter Johnson, Danny, have you ever personally experimented with a TRT add-on such as oxandrolone or primobolan, not for health, but for performance in the short term? I have. There's a video I did not all that long ago about some of the stuff I've tried. It's a really, really frustrating topic for me because I've got a lot of friends in the TRT community and they take all kinds of different stuff. Okay, they're adding nandrolone to their TRT, sometimes in lower doses. Sometimes they're doing full-on cycles and they're taking Anavar, and they're taking Tren, and they're taking Equipoise, and they're taking Primo, and they're taking Masteron. And some of these guys try some of these things and you're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. Now, they're not taking them long-term. They're taking them because they're training and eating, their diet's on point. They're training like savages. And they take the stuff, they look like $1 million. So naturally, you see these guys the way they look. You're like, fuck, I want to look like that too. Problem is I work like a dog and I miss most meals. But I figure, maybe if I add a little something here or there, it's going to help. And the very first thing I had added was nandrolone. And I added it at 50 milligrams a week. because I heard that it helped joints a lot, and I had taken that for a little while, and it really did help with the joints. I felt way less. I had more joint pain back then than I do now, and it did help a lot. You know, and I was getting stronger in the gym, and even with 50 milligrams a week, like, this stuff is really potent. And then with time, I said, you know, well, they're taking all this, and look what they look. So I started jacking it up, jacking it up, jacking it up. And for me, it really messed me up neurologically. Really bad anxiety, really bad panic, really bad insomnia. And prior to doing the DECA, I mean, I had some anxiety in my 20s, but that went away, and I had never had any type of anxiety, panic, and none of that stuff for, like, I'm 48 now. Okay? It's been a long freaking time, been over 20 years. And it's almost like that nandrolone reawakened that fucked up part of my brain that was causing anxiety to begin with. And after that experiment, any little thing that I would add, I would take it, and then day after day, like, oh, fine, everything's good. Week after, no problem. Oh, I think everything's fine. And then one night it'll just hit me. I'm like, oh shit, like, no, it's this, you know, this stuff. And then it would take weeks for that to go away. I've tried so many different things, always in really, really low doses, primo and low dose, master on low dose. As I'm curious, what does this stuff do? If I take a little bit, what's the reaction? I love experimenting. And it just got to the point that I got fed up. I'm like, no, there's something about my neurological state that if I add these compounds, it messes me up. I got a lot of people saying, oh, it's all in your head and you're thinking about, like, I'm not thinking about it. I take my shot and I go about my day. And the next day I take my shot and I go about my day, or I take the shot a couple days a week. And I'm week after week after week, and I'm not even thinking about it. I'm like, okay, I guess this one's fine. And it'll hit me later on. It'll hit me weeks later. The worst one for me was Tren. I tried Tren at like 5 milligrams a day, just completely messed me up. And my sleep has never been the same. I have to take pills to sleep these days. I have the worst insomnia ever, and I've tried any natural remedy I can, and it was ever since I took that goddamn nandrolone. So guys, if you want to take stuff, please keep in mind everybody has a different tolerance level. Everyone is going to, maybe some have benefits, some are they're going to get, you know, they're going to get the DECA dick, or they're going to get bad libido, or they're going to get prolactin issues, whatever. Some guys will take oodles of this stuff and they say, I feel like a god on it. Okay, those fucking bastards. So keep in mind that these are drugs. Okay, just like any medication, you might take a medication, not have any of the side effects, and other people take a medication, they have every single side effect known to man. And I think, frankly, I got this from my mom, because she used to take a lot of medication. She passed away many years ago. She had an incurable disease, and she was on a ton of medication, and she would look at the list of side effects, and she would always get every freaking single side effect on those drugs. And I probably got the same genetic profile, so it is what it is. Sam Joe Playas, please. Hope I'm getting that right. Hi, Danny. I'm going on TRT soon because of low levels, both total and free, with all the symptoms. I'm planning on going on 20% transcodal cream. Do I need to take high or low dose since SHBG is low? Okay. Low SHBG doesn't really impact dose. Okay. Low SHBG doesn't really impact dose. I see low SHBG guys getting by with 60 milligrams a week, and I see low SHBG guys like me sometimes needing upwards of 300 milligrams a week. Okay, you can't say my SHBG is here, therefore my dose is probably going to need to be this. Or I've done my pre-TRT labs show that my levels are here, therefore my dose should be that. Bullshit. It's your pre-TRT, whatever, is not going to impact your dose. Low SHBG will often impact how often you need to take it. So if you are taking injections, the lower the SHBG, more often you need to inject. Okay, it's just, it is what it is. I've not seen a guy with single digit low SHBG who says, I inject once a week and feel fine. I'm sorry, I haven't seen it. Now, because you're going to be on the cream, you're going to be applying the cream every day. If you want the cream to work really good, you're going to apply twice a day, because the half-life of the cream is actually pretty short. It's only like 12, 14 hours. So you're going to say, oh, 12, 14 hours is long. Yeah, but if you take it in the morning, I mean, by the evening, like your levels are going to be, you know, halved compared to where it was in the morning. So you start off at a dose. I mean, you got to start somewhere. You can do, if you're going to get the toppy click, usually it's supposed to output, is it 20%? Yeah, you're at 20%. Every click is 50 milligrams. So a lot of doctors will start guys off on 2 clicks twice daily. So 100 milligrams morning, 100 milligrams evening. And I have to say something about the cream, guys. Ever since I started TRT, well, real TRT, because when I started, I was on the androgel garbage, which was a complete waste of time. And then I was on a weak compounded cream that I was applying to my chest and arms, and that didn't do anything. And then I got injections, and that helped. I never had a chance to try the cream. And I finally got a chance to try the cream because there were some guys that were on the injections and said, I always want to try the cream. And they tried the cream and like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. And they freaked out. And I have seen other guys that went from the injections to the cream, and it didn't. They're like, you know, I just much prefer the injections. I was just giving myself, you know, 2 shots a week, and it was fine. And this stuff I could apply twice a day. It's a pain in the ass and whatever else. So I've been doing these live streams and getting questions from guys. I'm like, you know what? I need to try the cream, see how it works on me. At least have an idea of, you know, applicating and whatever else. So I figured I'd start with the standard, you know, 2 clicks twice a day. So 100 milligrams morning, 100 milligrams at night. So I took 100 milligrams morning, 100 milligrams at night, took 100 milligrams the next morning. And all that day I was just tight in the chest and I was like wound up. I was like stressed, like just like on edge. Like if somebody got in front of me, like, dude, I'm gonna break it. like I was ready to like kill somebody the whole day. But I had no reason to be feeling that way. Like nothing really was going on in my day that was making me feel that way. I was like, could it be the cream? So I didn't take any for a couple of days. I waited for the feeling to pass. And I tried just 50 milligrams in the morning, 50 milligrams at night, 50 milligrams, okay, 50 milligrams at night. And then I tried 100 milligrams in the morning again. And Jesus Christ, again, I was like just ready to kill somebody. Meanwhile, libido through the roof. I'm walking around like this in my pants, like, like I used to had a good libido on the injections, but with the cream, I was like, my wife's like, Danny, what's wrong with you? Like, I don't know. Like, it's any of you guys who are saying, this is my point. I'm sorry, I took a long to make a point, but any of you guys who are saying, injections are the gold standard and cream is for pussies and cream doesn't do shit and everyone knows injections and bodybuilders take injections. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. That cream, when you apply it to the scrotum, is fucking potent stuff. Like it is really potent, really potent. I haven't gotten that feeling on 500-600 milligrams a week of test. Okay, I've tried at 1.5 or 600. I think I went to like 600 milligrams of test. Not for a long time. I just wanted to see what it was looked like. It was really impacting my sleep. But the libido, the erections, that feeling of like you're like an animal type thing on a little. I mean, it's a little dab on the tip of your finger. You just rub it on. This stuff is for real, guys. Okay, so don't underestimate this cream because I'm telling you, it's let's go on my camera here. Hello, oh guys. Oh, there we go. Ugly mug is back. It's really potent. Like it's really potent. So if some of you guys have been annoyed with injections and you're like, I hate injecting, try the cream. You'll be really surprised. You'll be really surprised how strong this shit is. So hope that answers your question. Sean Shang, I've been on TRT for about a year, 140 milligrams weekly. Latest labs showed 562 nanograms per deciliter and free T of 158 pgml, range 35 to 155. This translates to a free T of 15.8, correct? Yes. Sean Chang, you're kind of like the other guy. You got a doctor who's saying, here's the range. I'm going to get Sean Chang right in the middle. So of all the I'm going to take the average of the population. I'm going to make him like the average. Okay, but the average of the population are typically guys not even on TRT. You're now the average. Congratulations on treatment. Would you not want to be like closer to like I don't know, like if you're going to take a treatment, right? Don't you want to be? I don't know. I don't get why these doctors are like, we're going to look at the range and I'm going to get you in the middle. I'm going to make you as average as I possibly can. You're going to pay a lot of money for labs and medications, this, that. You're going to have to inject yourself all the time. I'm going to get you to that. Why? To do the whole point is to get you optimal, right? So are you feeling optimal with a free T of 15.8? To put stuff into context, most guys, again, it says on all the videos that report saying, I've had all my issues resolved. I feel fantastic. Free T is sitting about 30 to 50. You're at 15. Okay, so you would almost need to double your dose just to get into the levels where a lot of these guys are saying that they feel their best. Now, that doesn't necessarily imply that you need to increase your dose. Maybe at 15.8, you're like, I feel amazing. I'm having sex all the time and I couldn't be better. Well, then leave it alone. But if you are still having some kind of symptoms and you're saying, I'm on this treatment and I expected a little more, you got room to go up. You got plenty of room to go up, okay? Now give me a sec. I just want to take a peek again at that guy, the Army Log, who give that big super chat donation thing. It's estradiol, PMOL. Oh, PMOL. Oh, that's why. Okay. Okay, give me 1 sec. I got it, guys. I got to go back to this guy's post because he tipped like 28 bucks and I can't ignore him. Went from 12 to 50.7 total, and 276. Okay, so 276 PMOL. My bad. I should have known it was PMOL because you're in Toronto. My bad. 276. I'm so sorry if I confused you. Most of these questions are using the American units. Okay, there you go. So 75 picograms per milliliter, PGML, 75. What did I tell you? I said your total T calculates to about, was like 1,400, I think it was about 1,400 nanograms per deciliter. And I said, I would expect to see your estradiol somewhere between 70 and 90 PGML, and you're at 75. How good am I, right? So your estradiol is precisely where I would expect to see it. Not that it really means anything, but in most guys sitting at 1,400 total, that's where their estradiol would sit, more or less between 70 and 90 PGML. Okay, so you're right in that zone. Now, had your levels been here, and I'd be like, okay, well, there's a lot of estradiol leaking out into the serum, that might demonstrate that there's a problem going on. And if your levels were like here, that there was almost untraceable amounts of estradiol, I'd be like, okay, you should have some at least in the serum, but there's almost none. Maybe you got aromatase deficiency. Okay, so you're fine. If your doctor is worrying about E2, your doctor doesn't understand anything about hormones. Like literally does not understand anything about hormones. Ask your doctor, where does estradiol come from? It comes from testosterone. So guess what? As I'm raising testosterone, I'm going to have more estradiol. And they work together as a team. Okay, it's a self-regulating mechanism. They work together as a team. You can't raise this one and then decide I'm going to lower that. This one is providing you with a lot of protection, a lot of benefits. They work together as a team. Testosterone on its own is actually a bit of a stressor to the body, but that's mitigated from the protective benefits of estradiol. So as long as the two of them are there, you're all good. But if you're going to remove the protective benefits of estradiol and just have the stressor, eventually it's going to cause issues. And we do have literature that shows if you are raising one and lowering the other and you're increasing the ratio between the two, that's detrimental to health. Okay, so tell your doctor, I feel great. Maybe you're taking too much to do, let's adjust dose. So I don't want to touch my estradiol. Estradiol is exactly where it needs to be. And if your doc doesn't understand it, ask your doc to provide you with literature that estradiol needs to be lowered in a man on tier T. Okay, and if he still doesn't get it, you can send him to this channel and have him look up AI or have him look up E2. We've got tons of videos and literature and whatever else. So hope that answers your question a little bit better. Taking out in 4, it is Hunter, Sean, Price. Where 52. Prince Llewell, there is an 8 millimeter by 5 millimeter pituitary microadenoma on my pituitary, not large enough to be operated. Okay, so that's why your prolactin was high. So in this case, you want to try to raise your testosterone levels significantly. It's going to help to suppress some of that prolactin. Okay, I have seen guys with this type of issue, they weren't able to fix it. And they're like, we know now why I have my prolactin as high as it is. And just by raising testosterone, it helped kind of bring the prolactin down. So that's really pretty much all you can do at this point, that I'm aware of anyway. Bubba Stang 74, feel like shit still with my endo, but he's not giving me more tests. I'm on 100 milligram every 2 weeks. Just had my blood done. My test level was 133 nanogram per deciliter after 2 weeks, and free is at 31 pgml. Okay, so your free is at 3. Okay, I just finished explaining most optimal guys are at between 30 and 50. You're at 3. You are on a treatment, and your levels are that of a healthy 105-year-old man. Congratulations. Okay. Make an appointment with your endo, kick him in the nuts for me, like a few times, just over and over and over and over and over. Make sure those testicles stop working. This is a joke, guys. Okay, it's a joke. Make sure those testicles stop working so that he now has to get on TRT. And then when he gets his levels to 133 nanograms per deciliter, realize how much he feels like shit, he might say, holy cow, maybe I need to raise doses on some of my patients. Okay. Bubba Stang, please run from this endo because he's literally castrating. Literally, this is not, I'm not making an exaggeration. He is literally chemically castrating. Okay. Play this clip back for him. Mr. Endo, please stop prescribing testosterone to patients because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You are chemically castrating this guy. Stop. Okay. He was actually better off probably prior to getting on TRT. We can set him up with a proper provider, but please stop prescribing testosterone to men, please. Because soon your male patients won't even be men anymore. Sean Shang watching from Los Angeles, California. Cool. How's the gas prices over there? I've been hearing some stories. Sam watching from Torsham, the Faroe Islands. Damn, it's pretty freaking cool. I didn't even know what I've heard of them. I'm gonna have to look them up on the map. USA, yeah, DC Heavenly Buzz. I know you're American. Nassim LaSalle from Algeria. Holy cow, this is freaking cool, guys. 67 people got Faroe Islands, USA, Algeria. Pretty cool. Aaron Dan, I'm watching from Washington State, USA. Great info. Thank you very much, Aaron. Umer, Mr. Malik. Hey, Danny, hope you're doing well. Just wondering, how's your ferritin and thyroid levels on TRT? Also, what's your supplement regimen along with TRT? Thanks. Okay. My ferritin has always been fine. Every single time I've measured it has been within range. And then you're gonna be like, oh, he says ranges are not applicable. I don't find ranges are applicable for hormones, but they're very, very applicable for other things like ferritin would be a good example. Okay, if your ferritin levels are really, really, really low or really, really high, that's a problem. Okay, my ferritin levels were always, I stopped measuring them not long ago because every time I checked, they were always like right in the middle of range, and they were fine. Now on the thyroid side, I was like, if you looked at my labs, you would say he's borderline hypothyroid, barely. And because I wanted to try to be the best I could be, I hopped on some thyroid meds. Frankly, I never really saw that much of a difference with the thyroid meds, probably because I didn't really need them. I then tried upping my thyroid meds just so maybe if I take more, I'll see some kind of an outcome. And when I did, I would have like an elevated heartbeat. I find that get out of breath faster. Found a little bit more wound up. And when I got back to my regular dose, I just felt normal. Well, normal, whatever the normal is for me. Then I eventually said, let me stop taking the thyroid. And I've determined by stopping it and starting it, stopping and starting, I feel the same regardless. Whether I take thyroid, I don't take thyroid, I feel exactly the same. It doesn't really change my life at all. I do feel better with some DHEA. I've tried 25 milligrams a day. I've tried 50 milligrams a day, and I've tried none. All the DHEA I ever had was just the stuff you get on Amazon. And every time I take it, I could feel like it was doing something a little bit better libido, a little better erections, a little bit overall well-being, better cognition. I could tell that there was, a mild benefit, and if I would take it. Now that I switched to the cream, the doctor has actually added prescription pharma-grade DHEA to the cream. So now when I'm applying the cream, I'm actually getting DHEA from that, which is great. So I stopped taking the DHEA. I was on a number of different supplements, and I kept trying a whole bunch of different things. Everything either made me feel the same, or I would get some weird side effect. And I got fed up. This is just, I don't really pick it up. Like, this is just one bin of supplements. Okay? I don't know if you can see it there. This is one bin of supplement. I've got multiple bins of supplements, of stuff that I've experimented with and tried. I brought this up on the last video I did, but this is going to sound strange, and I'm really trying to figure out how this is possible. So I had Dave Lee, who's done videos in the Facebook, on the YouTube channel, analyze my DNA. And he said, according to my DNA, I had very poor methylation. Anytime I would try taking any type of vitamin B6 or any type of B complex, I'd get the worst insomnia ever. And it was apparently due to the fact I had poor methylation. I needed methylated B vitamins, and I tried methylated B vitamins, still had the same thing. So I said, okay, I need something to improve methylation. I'm guessing, right? My camera keeps going out. There was a guy that commented on one of the YouTube videos. His name is Total Body Fitness, telling me about something called TMG. Okay, I'm not selling you guys anything. That I'm not making any money off this. Okay, I bought this on Amazon. Okay, TMG. It's supposed to help with methylation. So I started taking it. I got the strangest effects from this stuff, and I've demonstrated it now over and over, because at first I thought it was just all in my head, but now I've demonstrated it. So basically, prior to me taking this, if I had sex, I can go forever. Like, I mean, forever, to the point my wife is like, can you just get it done already? Can you just finish already? Like, literally, and I'm trying, and it would take me forever. For some reason, I take 3 of these in the morning to help with methylation, and now I can have quickies. I have no explanation. I explained this to Dave Lee. He has no explanation. I have no idea why it's having this effect, but it does. Like, night and day difference. So for anybody watching, if any of you have that issue where you just feel like you can go forever and it gets annoying, and you've seen in your DNA you got poor methylation, try this, and on a video or something, comment and tell me if it had the same effect. So right now, this is literally the only supplement I'm taking. I'm taking nothing else. I even stopped taking vitamin D. I was getting weird issues with vitamin D. If I am sick, I'll take high dose D, high dose C, zinc, quercetin. I had COVID last week. We all had COVID. It lasted 2 days and was done. I even threw in some hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. 2 days, COVID was over. That's it. And I'm not vaccinated. My wife's not vaccinated. My 2-year-old isn't. Now my 2 teenage boys got it. They live mostly with their mom. I brought them the ivermectin, and they're already 2 days later feeling a lot better. So whatever. So that's really the only supplement I'm taking at this point. I'm not taking anything else. I'm not taking any other anabolics. I'm not taking nandrolone, any of that shit. I'm taking the cream, and that's got the DHEA in it, and that's it. That's it. I got fed up of experimenting, because every experiment I do always kind of seems to go horribly wrong. Kenzo 1988, on TRT and T level stable, looking to intro Anavar for muscle building. So it's actually called oxandrolone. Anavar was a name brand that doesn't exist anymore. They still call it Anavar with the bodybuilding circles, but the technical term is oxandrolone. If you're in the US, there's some clinics that actually prescribe it. I'm not even sure how they get away with it, but they do. It's supposed to be used for muscle wasting diseases. If you'd like to try, do take a small amount. Is it liver toxic? Technically, yes, but I mean, so is Tylenol. Make sure, you may want to check liver values before, because if you've got really, really poor liver, you got some form of liver damage, and you start throwing Anavar into it, you're kind of asking for trouble. But start with the smallest dose possible. Take 10 milligrams a day and try that. And if, after a couple of weeks say, holy cow, like this, I feel good. Well, then don't bother taking more. Okay. You always want to take the minimum effective dose. So whatever that amount is, say I take this much, and with this, I get an effect. That's all I need. Perfect. Okay. You really want to consider doing the what's it called? Slow and steady wins the race. Okay. The guys that say, I want to get jacked, and they get, boom, those guys are always going to crash. They're going to lose their stuff fast. Okay. But if you're building muscle and you're building it gradually over time, okay, and you keep going, once you get to this point, it's really hard for you to say, I'm going to just lose everything. Okay. You'll tend to keep that muscle a lot more versus the guys that blow up like a balloon. And then, they wind up losing it after. So that's what I would do. Check liver values. It can also drive down sex hormone binding globulin. So if you already have pretty low sex hormone SHBG and you take that, keep in mind that it could really, really crash it. So monitor that as well. Monitor lipids for sure. Anytime you're taking any type of anabolic, monitor lipids. Okay. There's a guy here, Jeffrey. What time should I be taking my supplements? DIM, pregnenolone, magnesium, DHEA, vitamin B complex, gamma, E, all at once, spread throughout the day. That's a lot of supplements. Jeffrey, why are you taking DIM and pregnenolone? Okay, first of all, I'm taking DIM. So DIM works well for guys who have really shitty liver function, who, when they're on TRT, they wind up with estrogenic type symptoms, like, hey, I'm on daily shots or every other second day shots, but I'm getting like gyno symptoms, and I'm getting, just weird issues like that. But I've tried more, I've tried less, and my frequency is as well as I can. But I check my AST and ALT labs, and they're really elevated. I got some liver issues. Then sometimes it's good to add some DIM at that point, because it's going to help the liver work better at metabolizing those estrogens. But that's something that's taken kind of like on a short-term basis, okay, like a temporary basis. And once you've improved liver function, you should be able to eventually wean yourself off the DIM, and then you're not going to have any of these issues. I don't really recommend people just taking DIM every day. Work on your liver. DIM will rid the body of excess estrogens, but also androgens. Okay, so you could be taking TRT, taking DIM. There's a school of thought that thinks that if you're taking DIM, it could actually be making the body metabolize and ridding itself of androgens quicker than you'd like, because you're taking the DIM. The pregnenolone, same thing. Some guys take pregnenolone, they feel fantastic. Other guys like me, I take pregnenolone, doesn't matter what the dose, my libido and erections are tanked. So if you're having any issues with libido and erections, I wouldn't take the DIM. I wouldn't take the pregnenolone. Magnesium is fantastic versus almost everybody is deficient in magnesium. DHEA, again, like I mentioned before, don't go so much by the labs. If you feel better taking DHEA, take it. If you don't take it. The vitamin B complex, nothing wrong with that. Gamma E, not really sure. I hope that you have tested every one of these things individually, and not just say, well, I'm just going to take all these supplements because people say they're going to just take them all, because then you don't know what's doing what. Okay, so DIM, pregnenolone, magnesium. I like taking magnesium at night. I find it helps with the sleep a little bit. The rest, yeah, you pretty much take it all at once. I don't really think you need to, and depending on the B complex you have, some B complexes are one a day, and some of them you got to take it throughout the day. But yeah, you can take it all at once. But I definitely wouldn't take like all that stuff maybe before bed, especially the B complex. Some people, the B complex actually keep them awake. Let me just go through these chats really quick. Holy crap, there's a lot of questions. I'm just gonna check fast if there's any of those super chats, so I don't ignore anybody. And then I'll go back to where I was before. Sam Joe Playas, hi Danny, I'm 21. I have all symptoms of low T. Total's about 290 NGTL. My free is about 7 to 8 nanograms per deciliter. My SHBG is 14. Thyroid is fine. No pituitary adenoma. Is it okay for me to go on TRT at this age? Is it okay to? Yes. However, you should see if you could figure out why your levels are as low as they are. Okay. Don't just say, oh, my levels are low, therefore I need TRT. Try to find out why your levels are low. Find the functional medicine practitioner to say, hey, I'm 21 years old. My total T is 290, which is like you'd expect, I'd expect to have those numbers maybe when I'm in my 60s, and I'm 21. Something's wrong with something. Have him do some kind of an analysis to figure out, is it something in your diet? Is it something in your environment? Is maybe some kind of a body wash you're using? Maybe you've got some kind of a food intolerance. Maybe it's a mineral vitamin deficiency. Maybe it's an allergy. Maybe it's or maybe you've had some trauma to the testicles. Maybe you've had a traumatic brain injury, but at least see if you can find out, because he might go through and run a bunch of tests and say, oh, here's your issue. You're like really deficient in, I don't know, niacin, super deficient. And you start taking niacin and you feel better and your levels start coming out. I'm just using niacin as an example, but wouldn't you want to at least see if you can figure it out? Because if it's like, oh, that's all it was this, that's why I felt bad. Oh, you've now saved yourself a lifetime of treatment. Okay, so especially at 21, find someone who is good at diagnosing these types of things first. And then if they've literally ruled everything out, then yeah, you can hop onto your team. Okay. Army log, thanks, Danny. Really appreciate detailed response. Very comforting. I feel great. If you feel great, Army log, that's really, I mean, that's why we're all here, right? Okay, let me try to get back to the top. I just saw a good one from Angie Bossa. God damn, she's hot. Angie Bossa. How do you keep your beard so smooth and sexy looking? Angie Bossa, it's when I make out with you. Angie Bossa is my wife, by the way. I think there's something with your saliva. It's like enriching and nourishing, and I just like smother it all over the place. Okay, that's the cream, guys. That's what happens when you get the cream. The DHT goes up, the libido goes, through the roof, and you start getting stupid. Actually, Angie, you got me some really good beard oil, and I'm running out. So instead of watching this video, can you get your ass on Amazon and get me some more of that beard oil? Thanks. Love you. Love you. Guys. Okay. Okay. Bevney. James from London, UK. Do you have any ideas on ways to slow down transdermal absorption from cream so I can go from twice a day to once a day application, perhaps put an oil base on the skin before the cream? Slow the absorption. Not really. That cream, the half-life is going to be the same. Slow the absorption. I mean, if you're slowing the absorption, you're likely going to be preventing absorption, which means you're never going to absorb all of it, right? So I don't know if you want to do that. Have you tried just applying it once a day? Because I know a lot of guys, they'll tell me like, Danny, I know you're supposed to say put it twice a day because of the half-life and blah, 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 but I apply it once a day. I feel fine. Like apply it once a day and that's it. Some guys apply it, they find it's a little bit too much, regardless of dose. Then they're applying it sometimes behind the, like back of the knees, inside the forearms, like the inside your elbow or whatever. The only issue there is that you are not going to get that spike in DHT that you can only get from the scrotum. And some guys really benefit from that spike of DHT. Others, that spike of DHT, they get it, and then they're just like kind of like I was explaining before. Okay, if I take 100 milligrams of the cream in the morning, I mean, I can literally feel that DHT just making me go like, I'm gonna kill somebody. But I wouldn't necessarily want to like slow the absorption, because then I'm just going to minimize the absorption or prevent the absorption. I still want to absorb it. I would then adjust my dose, or if I find that DHT was too much, I might apply it somewhere else. But applying an oil base on the skin, you can try. Maybe you find some oil base that you put and you try it and you check your levels and your levels are good, you feel good and everything's good. I mean, do that. But I don't know. I'd probably just say, can I get by with once a day application personally? You know, or you could apply it. Well, even then, you know, you can apply it like later morning, and then maybe it'll last you a little bit longer, and then the rest of the time you're asleep anyway. Something like that. I don't know. I've never had that question before. I'd have to like think about it. Draj Taransky. When I am preloading syringes from Ampoules, should I keep air between oil and the plunger? Not necessarily. Some guys have done this, and others, they just load them up as is. And then when you're saying preloading syringes, is it to keep just for a couple of days? Is it to keep for a week? Is it to keep for weeks? Because eventually that oil is going to start eating away at the plastic in the syringes. Okay, so I would not want to preload a syringe and keep it longer than a week, like tops. I was doing daily shots and I was preloading my syringes a week in advance. But come the last shot, I would remember I'm pressing on the plunger and I'm really having to press hard. It wasn't nearly as effortless as the first day or the second day. It's like with every passing day, it's harder and harder and harder to push that plunger through. So I don't know if it's the oil is somehow changing consistency, or it's the fact that the oil is affecting the plunger, or the oil is affecting the plastic inside the syringe, but I could feel a difference just by pressing on it. Now, how much of an impact is that going to have on the actual oil once I inject it? I don't know. I don't think it's really that big of a deal one way or another. If you're going to put a little bit of air between the oil and the plunger, not in the world. You know, if you're going to put the oil and then you're going to have like, you know, a 5 ml, you know, half an ml of air and then the plunger on top, you know, is that going to cause some kind of oxidation or whatever? I don't know. I would try to keep that to a minimal. Thumb gas. Thumb gas. How the hell did you come up with that? Thumb gas. My mind's going places with that one. Why high test dose triggers acne, but I feel great. Lower dose gets rid of the acne, but feel like shit. Any suggestions for acne? Okay. When I was a teenager, my libido was unbearable. I mean, it was just unfreaking like through the roof. Like it was really, really bad. And I was covered in acne. So I felt great. I really felt great. I really felt great. But the acne was, I mean, my face was like forehead, all my nose, all this area, my cheeks, my chin had cherries. My back was covered in big, huge cherries like this that would stick out that far out of my back. That you would just go like that and like, poof, it just like ejaculates. Basically, it's fucking gross. It was really, really bad. And I tried all kinds of stuff to make it go away. I remember trying, my doctor had given me tetracycline, if I'm not mistaken, which is an antibiotic. And within about a week, I was acne free and it was amazing. But then as soon as I would stop, it would all come back. I tried Accutane. It made me feel like an old man. Everything ached, everything hurt. I felt like I was 95 years old. In my case, and I've brought this up in a couple of videos, and people bitched me out saying I'm full of shit, but I'm telling you, it's true. I used to drink a lot of coffee. I used to drink coffee throughout the day. In the morning, I would have 2 huge big mugs of it, drink it throughout the day, and I had a acne on my back, acne on my shoulders, acne on my arms. And when I cut back on that, it helped for me. And I think it was just driving up my cortisol levels too much. Because cortisol is like a kind of like a stress hormone, and it was causing me to have more acne. And by backing off on the caffeine, I think it probably helped lower the cortisol. And my back now is like the clearest it's been in like years. Like it's really, really, really good. Definitely don't go to the gym and get all sweaty and then say, you know, I'm not going to shower right away or whatever. I had gone through a time a year or two ago, and I did videos. There's one video I had taken off my shirt about how I fixed my gyno, and I had pimples like everywhere. And I was noticing, like, if I would sweat and I wouldn't go wash right away, I'd get zits. So now the second I get sweaty at all, I go take a shower. Sometimes I take 2 showers a day. I also changed the types of soaps I'm using. I only use natural soaps with no junk in it. It's called Dr. It's like these, shit, I don't remember the name, but it's like a tea tree oil. It's all natural. And I put that on, scrub it with my back. It helped a lot. But Stephen Devos, who owns this channel, who is a dermatologist, has done a ton of videos about acne. So just go on the YouTube, type TRT and hormone optimization acne, and he's got lots and lots and lots of videos about acne on there. I think help to resolve that. So again, if you are prone, like if you had acne when you were a teen, you know, that's when you had high androgen levels. You have to expect that now as an adult, you're raising testosterone, so you're raising your androgen levels, and your body is just going back to kind of how it was like a teen, and you're getting this stuff going on. So the fix for that is really going to be different from person to person. Some people can get rid of it easier than others. You know, if you can't get rid of it, no matter what you've tried with all the different types of solutions that Stephen suggests, then it's a matter of saying, okay, well, you know, I can feel great, but I can have full of zits, or I can feel like shit and have clean skin. Maybe I can find some kind of a middle ground. Maybe I could feel middle ground where I feel pretty good and the acne is like under control. You know, what else are you gonna do? Nassim Lassell, do I need HCG on my TRT even if I already have children? I don't want another. No, you do not. No. HCG is primarily used for fertility. Okay, so you're on testosterone, you really want to have a kid, you want to jack up your fertility, you can get on HCG temporarily, and it helps to bring up fertility. You get the job done, and then typically you don't need it. HCG is also good for people who are obsessed with the size of their balls, because your testicles are going to shrink when you're on TRT. By adding HCG, the testicle size is going to increase. So if you're obsessed with the size of the balls, you'll be happy that you have bigger balls. I prefer to have bigger balls up here, and I don't really care about the size because no one's going to see my balls. I can just walk around and tell everyone I got big balls, right? So who cares? My wife doesn't care about the size of my balls. My wife has never said, honey, your balls were amazing last night. She doesn't tell our girlfriends like, oh my God, my husband's balls did the best ever. Like, who says that? Like, who says that? Other guys are obsessed with their load size. You know, I need to show my girlfriend or my wife or my mistress or my neighbor or dog walker or whatever that when I ejaculate, it's like this like porn star type loads that you're like swearing all over the ceiling and the walls. And you really want to do that, take high dose HCG and it's going to help. I don't really see why that's important. I asked my wife, does your girlfriends and stuff ever talk about, oh my God, my husband's loads are so big? Like, no, like we don't care. We want the thing to work, right? To work when we don't care about all this shit. Okay. This is a lot of stuff that guys think that girls care about, and they don't. They don't care about the size of your balls, and they don't care about your loads. Now, I have spoken to the odd guy who says, you know, my wife needs to see big balls and they need to be like smacking her when I'm doing my whatever. And like, okay, but you know, that's a her problem. That's not a you problem. Okay. So if you really need to jack up the size of your balls, yeah, take HCG. However, there are some guys that just on TRT feel like there's something missing. They don't feel it mentally as well as they thought, or the cognitive function isn't. They're like, my libido's there, but it's kind of, my erections are there. I don't know. I just feel kind of sluggish, or little lethargic even, and I've tried all this other stuff. And some of these guys take HCG in relatively small doses, like 250, 350 IU, like twice a week. And it's like, oh my God, like I've got all this sensitivities returned that before I was just going and going and going, and I feel like I feel nothing. And now my wife touches me like, oh my God, like I feel every little thing that she's doing. And they feel like the brain fog has lifted. Their libido comes roaring back. Their erections come roaring back. So again, this is like all the other things I talk about. If you take it and it helps you, keep taking it. If you take it and it doesn't do anything for you, stop taking it. Like this, it's the simplest thing ever. It's the simplest thing ever. Okay. If you go to a restaurant and you order some weird plate that you've never had and you taste it and it's like, oh, are you going to get it again? No, you'd be a moron, right? You're not. I tasted this. I don't like it. Maybe you go to a different restaurant, you try this other thing, and you've tried it 3 times, but every time you do, you get chronic diarrhea for 24 hours. You're going to learn, okay, when I take this, I don't feel good, okay? But if you have something else and you're like, oh, this is the best thing ever, and oh my God, I feel so good and I loved it. I loved every second. Go back there. Go back. Like it's the same thing with the stuff. If you take something and you're like, hey, every time I take this, it makes me feel better, take it. Okay. If you're going to get all these supplements and you're taking, I'm going to take all this stuff because people say I should take it because it's good for my health, but you feel the same and you have no subjective benefit, don't waste your money. It's really not. Find the ones that make you feel good, and the ones that make you feel like shit, get rid of them or give them to Salvation Army or your neighbor or whatever else. Okay. There we go. Show. God damn. I gotta get glasses or I gotta learn how to read. Sambudo Chakravarti. Hi, Danny. I am on test cycle with 250 milligrams a week. Total test is about 3,000. Free test, 96 PGML, E2 93 PGML. Strength and gym is high, but libido is low, plus ED. Only Proviron, 50 milligram a day, rescues it. Okay. Guys, do you know when I say dose is irrelevant? And I've said this in many, many videos. Dose is irrelevant. Okay. Here is a perfect example. This guy, Sambudo Chakravarti, is on 250 milligrams a week of testosterone, and his total test is about 3,000. Okay. When I take 250 milligrams a week, my total test is about 1,200. Okay. So he's got not quite 3 times higher than me. I think once I even tested at about 1,100 on 250. So he's almost got 3 times the levels on 250 milligrams a week than I get. Okay. Here's yet another demonstration that the dose is irrelevant. For this guy, 250 milligrams is a cycle. Look at his total T, 3,000. For me, 250, it's just TRT. 250 gets me to the top of the range, just slightly above the top of the range. Okay. So some people are like, oh, Danny Bossa, he's on a cycle. He's taking 250, 300. That's cycle territory. Yeah, but look at my labs compared to his labs. It's a cycle for him. It's not a cycle for me. Okay. So this guy at 3,000, that would mean for him to have my levels, he'd have to be taking something like not even 100 milligrams a week, maybe 80 milligrams a week to get my levels. Okay. So that's one thing. Total test 3,000, free test 96. Okay. E2 93. E2 93, guys. I wanted to also point that one out. His estradiol is at 93. His total test is at 3,000, and his estradiol is at 93. Now, does that make sense to you? It makes sense to me, and I'll tell you why. People think that as you continue to raise testosterone, you're going to continue to raise estradiol infinitely. Don't work that way, okay? To convert testosterone into estradiol, you need the aromatase enzyme to do this, okay? Now, the aromatase enzyme will max out at a certain point. There's only so much testosterone that it can convert into estradiol in a given day. Okay, so there is a point that you're going to bring up testosterone pickup, and then it's just going to go like this. Testosterone keeps going, estradiol doesn't budge. I had an argument about this very subject with someone I had once on the channel who's got mostly a bodybuilding type platform. And the bodybuilders know a lot about bodybuilding cycles and stuff. They know fuck all about TRT. In contrast, I know a lot about TRT, but I don't know a heck of a lot about cycles, okay? They are really two completely different areas for two completely different purposes, okay? But what I explained to him was, and I've used this analogy many times, imagine you've got a winery. Anyone who doesn't know what a winery is, it's a place where they take grapes and they make wine out of it, okay? A winery, they bottle wine. Imagine a winery that is capable of making 100 bottles of wine a day, okay? Every single day it's able to make, that's how much it's able to make, 100 bottles of wine a day. Now, if you took all the grapes in the world and brought it to this winery, are you going to now expect the winery to make more than 100 bottles of wine? No, the most it can make is 100 bottles of wine a day. It doesn't matter how much grapes are waiting outside. The machines can only make a given amount of wine, and that's max capacity, 100 bottles of wine a day. The process of converting testosterone to estradiol is the same. You've got a finite amount of aromatase, and that aromatase can convert a finite amount of testosterone into estradiol. So it gets to the point that if you say, oh, I'm going to get my levels to 30,000, you say, oh, I guess my estradiol level is going to be in the thousands. No, it's going to get to a certain point. It's just going to max out. And we can see this perfect example. The guy's got his levels at 3,000 and his E2 is at 93. He could probably get his levels to 5,000 and his E2 levels probably won't really get much higher, okay? So strength in the gym is high, with total T of 3,000, I would assume it would be, but libido is low, plus ED. Okay. People think inaccurately and incorrectly that the more you raise testosterone, the higher your libido is going to be and the more your erections are going to be, okay? So with that method, with that mindset, it's like, okay, if I'm going to get a babysitter and I'm going to go out on a romantic weekend with my wife and I want to have sex 10 times a day, I need to get my total T to like 5,000 and then I'll be having sex 10 times a day. No, it doesn't work that way. There is a point where you're bringing up your levels and you're like, oh, my libido is better. Oh, my erections are good. Ooh, and you keep going. And eventually it's like, yeah, not so much, okay? Find any group of bodybuilders, and some of them are going to say my libido is astronomically high, and the other bodybuilders are going to say, yeah, while I'm on cycle, my wife understands I'm on cycle. I have zero libido. I have zero erections. Nothing works. I'm here to do a job. I'm here to get size, and then I'll back off. I'll get back on my TRT. My libido's come back. So don't expect that because you're on 3,000 total T that you're going to have this crazy high libido. Okay, so you're saying my strength in the gym is high, the libido is low. Okay, only Proviron 50 milligrams a day rescues it. Okay, so if Proviron is helping you with your libido while you're on cycle, take Proviron. I assume you're not going to be staying on the 250 milligrams a week all the time with your total T of 3,000. That would be stupid. So you guys say to yourself, okay, well, while I'm on cycle, my libido and my erections are going to take a hit. I can add a little bit of Proviron. It seems to help. And once I'm off cycle, well, I'm going to get back on my regular TRT and everything's going to get back to normal. And that's it. Okay. So that's really about as easy as I can explain it. Joe. Oh, he's replying to at Prince Louis. I've got a 3 millimeter one on my pituitary. What options have they given you? My endo pretty much said there is nothing he will do about it. Joe, get a second opinion. Okay. Get a second opinion. Mark Corbett. Hi, Dan. I'm from the UK. Been in TRT for 8 weeks. They put me on 15 milligram of Test daily sub-Q. 15? When I had my 6-week review, my free T was 915. He said, I can't go above 1,000, even though I feel the same. Okay. This is typical of doctors in the UK. They are obsessed with numbers. They don't give a flying fucking rat's ass how you feel. They're going to look at that piece of paper and say, I don't care how you feel. Let's see your number. Yeah, your number. Yeah, we can't go up because of your number. I don't care how you feel. You're here for treatment. You feel good? go fuck yourself. We only care about numbers. These are doctors that should have become mathematicians and not doctors. Because if a doctor is going to treat a person using a number and not caring how they feel, they should have studied calculus or algebra, okay? Not trying to help patients, because patients are going in with symptoms and you can't quantify a symptom. So if you got a doctor who doesn't care about symptoms and just wants to see pretty numbers on a piece of paper, tell him, go learn algebra and go become a math teacher and let the real doctors treat the patients with actual symptoms, okay? 15 milligrams a week, 15 milligrams a day is 105 milligrams a week, which is nothing for most guys. So I don't know what to tell you, Mark, but that's the state of TRT in the UK. It's all the same shit. You got that idiot that sits in the car and wants everyone microdosing, and everyone's got to be on the same protocol. And it's got to be, you know, a normal physiological range, and everyone has to be normal and everyone has to be average. And that's why half the patients wind up contacting me and Dave Lee and everyone else saying, I feel like shit, I don't know what to do. What are you gonna do? Ali Gilbert, did your testosterone go up when you rubbed beards with Dave Lee? And not the facial beard, the backdoor beards. Okay, so Ali, I wanted to try that once because I mean, you and I both have seen Dave Lee, and his beard is like, it's about as an alpha of a freaking beard you can ever see. And I tried to suggest in the backdoor beard. I figured if I rubbed mine on the back door of Dave, figuring, well, if his beard is that alpha in the front, I could just imagine what the back door looks like. Turns out he waxes and bleaches. So there's nothing for me to rub it on. That's why my beard only looks like this and his looks like that. So if you know of someone else whose backdoor beard I can rub on, then please, by all means, send me their contact information and I'd be happy to comply. Jeffrey, that's a joke, guys. Ali Gilbert is, you know who Ali Gilbert is. Jeffrey, oops, gotta click on show. What time of day? Oh, wait, I did that one right. Let me just check if there's any other super chats. I'm gonna make sure I don't miss anybody. Sam Joe plays. Other question is continuation of previous question. Okay, so Sam Joe. Let me try to find your question again. So sorry, there's a lot of freaking questions in here. Applying 20%. Do I need to take high or low dose since SHBG is low? I thought I answered that question, Sam. I assume that's the question you're asking. The doses are relevant to the fact that you have SHBG, you're going to be on cream, you're going to be applying it daily, so don't worry about the dose. Find out how much you need to take a day to feel good, okay? Really bad, okay. Kurt, Jesus Christ, how do you guys come up with these names? Kurt Q Shamrock, DDO. When you say DDO, is it dollar des Ormeaux in Quebec? Because if it was, that'd be pretty cool. And you're probably gonna be freaking out that I even thought of that. Hi, I've had really bad heart palpitations and side effects from taking magnesium, and I'm afraid TRT will do worse. Can TRT have side effects? Really bad heart palpitations and side effects from taking magnesium. Now I'm afraid TRT will do worse. Okay, so what does magnesium have to do with testosterone? First of all, magnesium is giving you this weird effect. Somehow you're saying, well, if magnesium gives me this effect, then everything else I try probably giving the same effect. Well, do you get that effect when you take vitamin C or vitamin D? Do you get that effect when you eat a Big Mac? Do you get that effect when you have chocolate ice cream? Do you get, like, why don't you figure out what are the things that are causing that effect and rule them out? No, TRT does not do what magnesium does. I mean, it's two completely, it's like comparing milk and gasoline. Like, Not, they don't have the same function. They're two completely different things. Okay, to say if I get heart palpitations with milk, what if I? Okay, maybe that's a stupid analogy, but you see where I'm going with this. I find that the heart palpitations with magnesium, I can't say I ever read that before. Maybe you're taking too much magnesium. If it's giving you heart palpitations, we'll stop taking the magnesium. But don't assume that TRT is going to do that, because again, TRT and magnesium, two completely different things. Okay. Prince Lul, Joe, I have an appointment with my endo this coming 8 to get the answer. I'm thinking he's going to say either nothing or prescribe meds, which I will not take. I will just take my chance on TRT. Okay, so Prince Luel, there is, are you an actual Prince? Because I've never spoken to Prince before. There are meds that you can take, such as cabergoline, and there's another one. There's cabergoline, and there is another one, and I can't remember the other one. Cabergoline and shit. There is another one that helps to bring down prolactin levels. You could take a really, really tiny dose of that, and that can sometimes help. So don't just rule out all meds. If your doc wants to start you on low dose caber, I would probably say try it. Definitely take it. Okay, the Kurt Shamrock DDO. I went to a TRT clinic and they said they won't give me less than 200 milligrams. I'm afraid of what might happen. They won't give me less than 200 milligrams. Okay, so most clinics will tell guys, we will not give you more than 200 milligrams, which is fine, because 200 milligrams is usually enough for probably 98% of men out there. But for a clinic to tell you we're not going to give you less than 200 milligrams, meaning we are starting you off at 200 and too fucking bad, that's what you're going to take and man up and grow a pair, and that's how much you're going to, and everyone gets 200. I wouldn't go there. I know of several people, dare I say hundreds of people, who would take 200 milligrams and it would throw them into an absolute crazy, ridiculous panic attack. Not everybody can handle 200 milligrams a week of test. Not everyone can even handle 150 milligrams a week of test. That's kind of silly. It sounds like a cookie cutter type clinic where they say, we're just going to get everyone jacked up on testosterone, hope for the best. No, I wouldn't. I would leave that place. Cristiano DB, okay. Jorge Asuje. Aswaje, something. Hi, from New York City. I just started TRT, new to it, and got some questions. Any benefit on splitting the weekly dosage into biweekly? Absolutely. Main differences between intra, sub-Q. Should I take something for estrogen? Okay. I know very few guys that get by on once weekly shots and say that they feel fantastic and that they feel the same every single day. Okay. The ones that do typically have very high sex hormone binding globulin. Okay, so sex hormone binding globulin it kind of acts as a little bit of a storage for testosterone. Okay, so you take testosterone, it binds to the sex hormone binding globulin, and sex hormone binding globulin helps transport throughout the body and then delivers it into the target tissue. Okay, but a lot of it stays bound to that protein. Now, if you have low levels of sex hormone binding globulin, you have a much smaller storage capacity, if you will, which means that when you're taking testosterone, your body's going to metabolize it and your body's going to excrete it a lot faster. Okay, you'll take your shot and your levels are going to drop really quick compared to a guy with sex hormone globulin that's high. Will take a shot and his levels will fall gradually over time. Okay. I always recommend anyone who's starting TRT to split their dose, start with twice weekly shots. Okay, so do Mondays and Thursdays, Tuesdays and Fridays. There's guys ask me, what are the best days? Should I do Mondays and Thursdays? Should I do Wednesdays? Just pick 2 days in the week. And it doesn't have to be, Monday morning and Thursday night and trying to get that exact number of hours. It doesn't matter. It's not an exact science. Just split it up. Pick 2 days a week. Separated more or less Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, Wednesday and Saturday, take it those days. Okay, that's rule number one. With time, if you feel like you're up and down throughout the week, some days you feel one way, another time you feel another way, and you're not kind of up and down, that's a sign you want to increase frequency. So then you can maybe go to 3 times a week. Some guys have to go as far as daily shots, hoping you're not one of those, but it does happen. So that's the first question. Main differences between intra and sub-Q. Well, the main difference is intramuscular means you're injecting in the muscle, and subcutaneous you're injecting into the fat. Okay, and when I say fat, it can be belly fat, it can be love handles. Maybe you're just a fat guy and you got fat everywhere. You can inject it anywhere in the fat, and any area where you got fat is fine. Typically, guys use belly fat because that's where they have the most fat. Some guys do just fine with subcutaneous shots. I always did fine with subcutaneous shots, and others they're taking it and they're not getting really the benefits of TRT that they thought, and they get labs done and they're like, wow, my levels are really low and I'm taking a pretty good dose, and I've tried raising my dose and my levels don't seem to be going up. Those are guys that for whatever the reason, they don't do well on subcutaneous shots, and they're better off doing intramuscular. Okay, then they do the same amount intramuscular and suddenly like their levels shoot up like crazy. In contrast, there are some guys that take intramuscular shots and it's almost like the testosterone hits them faster and they feel kind of wound up. Like it's like I take my shot and it's like, oh my God. Some of those guys actually benefit from taking subcutaneous shots because the sub-Q shots, it's a little bit of a slower release. Now, I will prefer subcutaneous shots for a specific purpose, and that is for guys that have to do frequent injections. So say guys got really, really low Shbg and they're like, hey, I only feel good if I take daily shots, or I only feel good if I take every other day shots. Then you're thinking, okay, if I got to take daily shots, do I really want to poke a hole in the muscle fiber every single day, because it could eventually cause scar tissue? Now, if you're the type of person that it's like, I don't give a shit about injecting, and I sometimes use this delt, sometimes I use this delt, ventral gluteal on each side, I use quads, I use glutes, I use all these different spots, well, then go ahead. But if it's like, yeah, I'm only really good at injecting in my left delt, and that's the only place I can, well, then it's like, okay, well, you're going to put a needle in there every single day, day after day after day, you might develop scar tissue. So for those types of situations, sometimes I'll say, maybe do sub-Q, because now you can poke that hole in your belly fat, till your heart's content, and you're not going to really develop any scar tissue, as long as you feel just as good doing that. Okay. Should I take something for estrogen? No, you should not take anything for estrogen. Estrogen is not the big bad boogeyman that people in the bro science forums will tell you. Estradiol is extremely protective. It is a high driver of libido. It is a high driver of erections, and you can demonstrate that by taking too much of an aromatase inhibitor and crashing your estradiol, and you will not have any libido, and you will not have any erections. Okay, so estradiol is responsible for these things. Then people say, yeah, but too much doesn't. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, focus on your protocol. Don't worry about the estrogen stuff. Just focus on how often do I have to take it a week where I feel stable, and how much of it a week should I take to feel my best. Okay. If a doctor tells you have to control your estrogen, please tell your doctor to learn about endocrine hormones, because then it would demonstrate that he doesn't. DDO went. Okay, Stephen Latham, George, they're adamant about multi-dosing through the week. Your SHBG should determine injection frequency. Correct. They are big proponents of shallow IM injections, perhaps a 27 gauge half-inch needle. 27 gauge half-inch needle, some guys will call it shallow IM, but guys that are like reasonably lean, like when I was giving myself IM injections in the delt, like my delts are like really, really, really lean. Like it's IM, it's intramuscular, period. They're also completely opposed to taking anything for estrogen almost under any circumstances. Charles Cole, what resources are there to find a doctor that is open to TRT? My current primary care physician won't even consider testing my levels. I'm 60 years old. Charles, I'm not sure if you are on Facebook. If you are, strongly recommend joining the Facebook group with the same name, TRT and Hormone Optimization. I've got a list of recommended, approved, vetted providers where you can look at based on your area. There's some providers that do nationwide in the US. I've got in Canada, one in Alberta, one in Ontario. There's a number of them in the US. Outside of North America, it's slim pickings, unfortunately. But if you went there and stated where you live, we can recommend a provider that we know these guys know what they're doing. They've got a lot of experience. We've sent a lot of guys their way. Everybody's really happy with the end result. Okay. We're not pushing any of these providers to get some kind of a kickback. Nobody pays me to do this. Nobody pays me to refer a physician. If I see somebody that's doing a good job, I'm going to send them. Okay. So if I have a guy that comes over here and he's got to, clean my windows, he's gonna clean my windows, okay? And I come back a couple hours later and the windows look like they're brand freaking new. I'm like, holy shit, this guy knows how to clean a window, right? So if anybody's mentioning windows, I'm gonna say, use this guy. I'm not gonna say use this guy hoping the window guy is gonna pay me. I'm gonna say use this guy because I used them and the guy was fantastic. He did the most amazing job ever. Like use this guy and your windows are gonna look fantastic. And then I'll send people his way and their windows look fantastic and they're happy. So I'm gonna keep referring, right? That's kind of how it works. I want people to be happy that if I or any other member of that Facebook group refer somebody, that they're happy about it and they say, hey, Danny really helped me out. They set me up with a good provider. Okay, this is my, I get pleasure knowing that I helped somebody out, right? So that's what I would do. By the way, primary care are the worst at this stuff. TRT is an art. It's really not all that complicated, but it's still an art and it still requires a certain degree of experience and understanding, which 99.99, maybe I might even add one more 9 onto that. Doctors have no freaking idea, okay? And it's really not all that difficult, but primary care, forget it. Endocrinologists are the absolute worst at this. I think I found 2 endos in all of my years in this community, 2 endocrinologists that I could say, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. Most of them are absolutely clueless, which is insane because they're fucking hormone doctors, but whatever. You need a practitioner. You need somebody who does this specific area for a living. Okay. Lone Wolf, hi there. I started TRT 1 month ago. How I should cycling HCG? You don't cycle HCG. If you're taking it for fertility, or if you're taking it for testicular size, or semen volume, or well-being, or penile sensitivity, or whatever else, you just take it. You don't cycle HCG. You just take it. You take that year-round. Okay. Stephen last time, Danny, if I'm in a substantial calorie deficit, trying to get lean for summer, would it make sense to up my dose considerably to continue to get symptom relief and muscle building capabilities? I have seen some guys report, okay, first of all, guys that are trying to get in a really severe caloric deficit, and they're in particular cutting carbs and calories, carbs in particular, they find a big drop in libido and erections and stuff like that. Some of them have reported that they've increased their testosterone a little bit more and they felt better. I don't think it's the norm. I think that if you are in a caloric deficit and your body is just not getting enough calories and not getting enough carbohydrates, and now it's starting to turn on you by saying, well, this guy's starving, so clearly he's in no position to be reproducing. He's in no position to be impregnating anyone because the hunt has gone horribly wrong. And this guy's going to starve because that's what the body thinks. The body has not caught on that it's 22 when we got fucking grocery stores everywhere. Okay, it is what it is. In a lot of guys, there's no amount of testosterone that's going to fix it. The only thing you can do is say, hey, I'm in a caloric deficit. I'm trying to get lean. I'm doing this for a specific purpose. My libido's tanked and my erections are tanked. Well, I can do one of 2 things. I can keep doing what I'm doing to achieve my goal, with the understanding that my libido and erections are going to be tanked for a little while, and eventually I'm going to start reincorporating more food, and I know that's going to come back and everything's going to be fine. Or you can say, well, maybe my caloric deficit and carbohydrate deficit is a little too severe. My body is now telling me that something ain't good. Maybe I should try bringing up those values a little bit. When I say values, I'm meaning the calories and the carbs, to the point like, oh, at least I have some semblance of a libido. Okay, maybe it's going to take me a little longer to get to my goal, but at least I can enjoy it in the process. Okay, but that's really a decision you need to make. You can try increasing your testosterone, but it's not necessarily going to cure it. Okay. Guys, I'm going to take on one more question. I've been doing this for an hour and 40 minutes, and I know that my wife wants to go to a pool with my son, and she wanted me to come too. Then it was start TRT. Started TRT and I'm sleeping like a baby. Come at 9 p.m. my head's hitting the pillow, whereas before TRT I was awake until midnight. Is this normal? Yeah, a lot of guys report when they get on TRT, their sleep improves drastically. In contrast, there are some guys that get on TRT too high of a dose, and it negatively impacts their sleep. They wind up getting insomnia. Mr. Squishy, good afternoon, Danny. Good afternoon to you. I donated was a continuous question. Just wanted to also support the channel because I think you do. Okay, Sam Joplias, I donated. It was a continuation of the question. Just wanted to also support the channel because I think you are doing an amazing job. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Rajiv Kishore, Mr. Danny, I used to feel like I'm on God mode when I was a teen. Remembered every little detail, had supreme mental fluidity. I'm 28, starting to feel human these days. Does TRT give you back your teens? No, you see, what gives you back your teens is you need a time machine. Okay, so you go online and you research time machines, right? And you program. Okay, so you're 28 now. So when you're 18, so you need a time machine that's going to take you back 10, 12 years, and then you can have the God mode again. Okay, I'm just fucking with you. But in all honesty, that God mode when you're in a teen, that's not meant to be that way for the rest of your life. Okay, it's just not. Now, will getting on TRT help? Yes. If you already have really good, healthy levels of testosterone, and you have no real symptoms other than I'm not, as much of a rabid, horny dog as I was when I was 16. I mean, you can try bringing up your levels, but that would probably be silly. Now, if you have many, many, many symptoms, and then you bring up your levels, chances are you're going to feel a lot better. But none of us here are trying to get back to feeling like we were when we were 16. Okay. If I felt today with my TRT the way I felt when I was 16, I probably wouldn't have a business. I probably wouldn't have a family. I'd probably have a lot more kids, just not the kids that I'm aware of. Okay, because I'd be out like trying to like hump everything that moves. Okay, it's not practical to be feeling that horny 24/7. That's when you're a teen, and when we're adults, you want to feel good, but you don't want to feel like that all the time. That would probably become a problem. The goal here is just to say, I keep reiterating, I'm sleeping well, I've got good libido, I've got good erections, I've got good mental function. When I train, I am able to put on some muscle mass. I'm able to keep my fat under control. I feel good. Nothing really aches. I don't really have any pains, and that's it. My TRT is doing its job. Okay, this isn't some kind of a God pill that I'm going to take it and then I can fly to Mars. Like this, or jump over buildings. Okay, I'm not Superman. This is to minimize the symptoms of aging, if you will, and try to hold on to some of that youth as long as possible. So that is about it. Guys, I hope this was good. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any of those super chats because then I know you guys will get pissed. I did not. Okay, guys, I tried to answer as many of them as I could. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, I'm going to try to do these every now and then. And to many of you watching, you're like, oh, Danny's saying the same stuff that he said the last time. And he's saying, yeah, but I come here and I got questions. And sometimes it's a guy that's watching the channel for the first time and he's got his newbie questions and I'll answer the same question over and over and over. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to go on the questions. So if you're bored with the questions, next time, hop on early and ask a really, really, interesting question that you're something you find interesting. I'd be happy to answer it. I can only answer so many. I can't just stay on here all day long. So that's about it. Have a good weekend or rest of the weekend, guys. And